Good morning. Welcome to this place of peace, justice, and hope. In this Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm no matter who you are, who you love, or where you are now on your journey, you are welcome here. For those of you joining us online, we are so glad that you're with us. If you are visiting us today, we invite you to sign our visitor's book, which is back there in the living room. And if you'd like to join us for coffee hour downstairs, we encourage you to take a green mug so that we know that you are a visitor and we make a point of greeting you. Also, members and friends, to help folks connect, remember to wear your name tags with your pronoun stickers. I have, of course, lost mine, but we'll find it by next week. If you need a new name tag, see the visitor table in the living room in the back of the sanctuary, or you can send an email to the office. I am Susan Morrison Hebel. My pronouns are she and her. I am pleased to be with you today as worship associate. Our music today will be provided by Jamie Passman. We'd like to thank you for putting your phone in worship mode, but please do feel free to check in on social media and let folks know you are worshiping here today. Child care for children under the age of 5 is available in our playroom located just across the alley in the lower level of the RE building. Youngsters are welcome to join the play group when the older children are sung out to RE. But please know that all ages may remain in the service and all voices are welcome here. So, well, as you know, especially if you were here last night, there's always a lot going on around the church, and you can read all about it in News and Notes, which arrives weekly in your inbox every Friday, and there are printed copies available downstairs. If you would like to receive News and Notes, stop by the welcome table in the living room at the back of the church and sign up. So we have a couple of announcements today. First, Jay Vancura let me know that there are a few more items of Joyce Vancura's clothing. Jay has donated Joyce's clothes to the church. So anyone who's interested in looking at some of these beautiful clothes that are across the way in the RE building in the lower level, take what you want, give a free will donation to the church, and it'll be just for a couple of more weeks. Right, Jay? And we also want to just express gratitude for the beautiful auction and celebration we had last night. Our big fundraiser was last night. And it was great fun. I know people went away with lots and lots of cool things. And we want to make sure that we mention our sponsors again, just so that you all know that there were some people who didn't just donate items, but donated money to help us put on the fundraiser. Those included Church Mutual, who's our insurer for this building, Fair Isle Bookstore, which should be familiar to you, and Hillgrove Tap in Western Springs, which, by the way, has an awesome black bean burger, if anyone's interested. And Shadowfields also donated their time and energy and their just fantastic musical talents for us. Pam's going to come up and give an announcement in just a minute, but I do have one more thing I need to say, and that is that we will be collecting new and unwrapped gifts and $25 gift cards for Target or Walmart for children and families who are clients of the Humanitarian Service Project. Okay, Pam?
Good morning. First, the toy collection. We have to deliver those toys by December 1st. So I know that sounds really early, but they need to sort them and make sure they get to the right families. So there's a collection box in the back by the Christmas tree by the fireplace. So if you can donate, that would be great. And then my big announcement is about our auction last night. Some preliminary numbers show that we raised $20,944. So we are so grateful for everyone's generosity. There are still some items downstairs and some sign-ups that weren't filled. So please check it out if you'd like to add something to your social calendar. And in the next week or so, I will be emailing you your invoice. So it'll come from my email. So your invoice for the evening, and we ask that you please get the turnaround on that done as quickly as possible. You can send a check. You could bring cash by the office in the mornings. I can take that from you. And we will talk about being able to do it on PayPal. Square. Well, somebody would have to be here to square it. Okay. So on Sundays, you might be able to square it. We will have directions on all of that when you get your invoice. So thanks again for your cooperation and all the fun we had. It was really great. And thank you to the auction team. They really worked hard. Thank you.
Well, I want to take a moment and thank Pam Fodor, our Director of Programs, without whom we do not know what we would do. But in thanking the auction team, we have to thank Pam for all of the work that you do to make things happen, and then to bring it all together and then let it go so that we can then do it again. So thank you so much for everything that you do. I appreciate you. I'm excited this morning for this service and the fact that we also have a special guest. This morning, our service, you'll hear more about it throughout the course of the service, is the celebration of Diwali, a Hindu festival that's also celebrated in other traditions. But this is also the second Sunday of the month where we acknowledge who our plate chair is for the month. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce Joseph Standing Bear Schranz of Midwest Soaring. But in the meantime, before I do that, I invite you to take a breath with me and just arrive to this place and this time with these people for this purpose as we come together. And as we come together, we acknowledge that we in the western suburbs inhabit areas that are the traditional territories of indigenous peoples, including only a few, the Kickapoo, Peoria, Potawatomi, and many, many others in this region, going back centuries. We do this not to be performative, but to be transformative. As people trying to live into a more just world, we have a responsibility to acknowledge the history and the legacy of colonialism, the harm done to Native peoples, and also to work to repair that harm in any way that we can. I'm going to invite up Joseph Standing Bear Schranz of Midwest Soaring, as I said, which is our plate chair, but Joseph has also graciously agreed to do a land acknowledgement for us. And so Joseph, if you want to come up and do the land acknowledgement and then tell us about Midwest Soaring.
You're going to say the words for the acknowledgement?
I did.
Yeah, okay. It's an honor to be here today with you and to talk about some of our problems briefly. We have 9,540,000 square miles, which is North America. And in North America, what we call the United States is 2.3 billion acres. And of that 2.3 billion acres, we have 3% of that land left. We have the highest dropout rate, the highest suicide rate, the highest unemployment rate. So it was pretty dismal for many, many years. Fortunately, we've had enough leaders in the last 10, 15 years that things are changing. Midwest Soaring has been around for almost 30 years now. I cover about 35 states. I've worked in the Arctic, a little bit of Hawaii, a little bit South America. And the indigenous movement to kind of unite our cultures, to maintain them, has been a struggle. I've been an activist myself for about 58 years. I've seen many, many tragedies during that time. And I've also seen a reawakening of people's consciousness. It was many years ago, if you were a Native person and you went to any church, there was always this underlying feeling of guilt. And there was like kind of a wall in between you and the person you were talking to. And that wall has been breaking down substantially, particularly in the last 10 years, where there's actually a conversation going on. I was asked by the Methodists on their national conference to actually address that issue. Unfortunately, I was sick at that time, I couldn't do it. But our foundation, we have land that's about a half hour south of Springfield, which belongs to us. We had the McKee House, which we just got last month. That's in Glen Ellen. That's part of the Churchill Woods. That's 200 and some acres, but we don't own the house. We just have a 40-year lease. So we're in the process of raising money for that to establish a world-class learning center about our culture and the environment. You know, and the environment is something which is very important to me, and I think it is to you too. I heard a couple weeks ago that 86% of the world's water is now contaminated to some extent. 86%. If I told my grandfather that I would pay $1 for a bottle of water, he would have slapped me in the head, you know. But I think that water is going to be higher than gas very soon. You know, think about that. But I do appreciate the opportunity and to talk to you one-on-one. And it does matter to us. And I mentioned the highest suicide rate. I had some friends that were on one of the reservations that had a child that was 5 years old. Was so despondent, sat on the railroad track and was killed by a train. You know, and it's hard to imagine that. You know, when we live in an area like this, we don't see what's really going on in the rest of the United States, let alone the world. And in the wintertime, one reservation has got 27,000 miles, and there's 13 places to eat. Can you imagine that? 13 places to eat, you know. So what happens frequently, the elders, if they don't have a car and they head out to town to get some food, frequently they'll die on the way there, and you won't find them until the spring when the snow thaws out. So, you know, considering that we didn't have the right to vote until the 1950s, you know, and despite all that, 80% of our people have served in the armed forces, 80% men and women. So we're very proud to defend this country, our country, from foreign influences. So without saying that any longer, my deep appreciation for your ears being open a little bit and trying to understand some of our problems that we have. One of the things which I really enjoy, we had our powwow last month, the second weekend of October, and I was able to hand out 7 scholarships this year. We've handed out over the years probably somewhere between 50 to 60 scholarships. And I take a great deal of time interviewing those applicants. And it may surprise you, I don't take the A student necessarily. I look at the applications and I call each person. And I'm more interested in the community activist who has done work to improve our people. And if they start scoring low when they're young, usually it's because they've had some sort of a bad household experience. So I'm more prone to give it to that kind of person who's really struggling and has made gains. Again, I invite you to come out to our center, which is in Lockport, Illinois. We have a very nice train station there that normally I'm there on Wednesdays and Fridays, but I always call Hinsdale first. But from my heart to you guys, I appreciate you listening to what I have to say. It does matter, and that land acknowledgement, I want to say something about that briefly. We had over 700 original tribes in North America, 10 major language groups, you know, and you think about that, how little, pardon me for that, you know, how important that is to us to be acknowledged. Normally I have Native people that are standing behind me, and when we say those words, I have them say their tribe. You know, and you'd be surprised what that does to their spirit to hear that apology to them. You know, the people are suffering greatly. In fact, the whole world's suffering greatly. We're in a very difficult time, and I truly hope that we can, you know, evolve beyond our current mentality. But anyway, without saying anything more, I appreciate being here, and thank you for hearing my words.
Will you be able to join us for coffee hour? Thank you so much, Joseph. Joseph just let me know that he'll be here for coffee hour. So thank you. Deep bows, and thank you for all that you're doing. And my hope when we do these plate shares, when we support an organization, is that we do that with more than our money, but that we do that with our time, that we do that with others of our resources, that we really and truly look to see how can we be in relationship in our community. And so it's my deepest desire that meeting you today and hearing about Midwest Soaring is the beginning of a relationship where we can do our part and truly become friends. So thank you so much. I invite us into worship this morning with a Sanskrit prayer. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of existence, the bliss of growth, the splendor of action, the glory of action, the splendor of achievement are but experiences of time. But yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. Today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Such is the salutation to the ever-new dawn. It is good to be together. I invite us, if you will, if you're able, to rise in body or spirit as we are gathered by spirit here today in the mystery of this hour as one strong body in the struggle and the power, and we invite spirit to draw near. I invite you to rise in body or spirit with me.
We light our chalice this morning with a poem celebrating Diwali. May we all celebrate for the new world being birthed inside the seed of peace. May we all move inside Diwali breath to remove darkness and ignorance from humanity's consciousness. May humankind awaken to see the beauty of life inside of forgiveness and love. And may you all have a happy Diwali as you inhale deeply your essence of light to ride waves of abundance, wisdom, and peace.
Be so. Thank you so much. And now it is time for our Time for All Ages, and I invite Pam Fodor up to share with us.
So the pictures of the story are going to be on the screen. So if you want to scooch over so you can see. Our story today is Lights for Gita by Rachna Gilmore. Gita pulled her hat down over her ears as she stepped off the school bus. Diwali, she whispered. Today really and truly is Diwali. But nothing in the November gloom seemed like Diwali. Somehow, moving here for Papa's new job no longer seemed like an exciting adventure. Today, New Delhi would be glowing with celebration. All her aunts and uncles and cousins would be together at her grandparents' house. They'd be laughing, talking, exchanging sweets with friends and neighbors. And in the evening, they'd light diyas to honor the goddess Lakshmi, who brought prosperity and happiness. And that's what's on the table right here. Diyas are little clay pots with candles, and that is a statue of Lakshmi in the middle. But Gita's most favorite thing was the fireworks. The whole city would be brilliant with fireworks. Gita looked anxiously at the dark clouds. Please don't rain, please don't rain. Papa had promised that he'd be home early with fireworks for their first Diwali in their new home. It wouldn't be like Diwali at her grandparents', but still, Mommy had made their favorite sweets, and she'd let Gita invite 5 school friends to help celebrate. Gita had wanted to invite her whole class, but you had to be quiet in an apartment. Not outside, though. Fireworks, lots of them. That's what Diwali was all about, the festival of lights. Gita glared at the gray sky before racing up the creaky stairs to their apartment. She flung her arms around her mother. Papa was home early, just as he'd promised. Did you get the fireworks, Papa? Yes, I got the fireworks. But Gita, Diwali isn't just about fireworks. There's, show me, Papa, show me the fireworks. Where are they? Gently, Papa turned Gita towards the window. A large drop splashed against the glass. Then another, and another, and another. It won't last long, said Gita, her voice wobbly. The forecast says freezing rain tonight. But not on Diwali, not for my fireworks. Calm down, Papa said. If it's raining, we can do the fireworks tomorrow. But I promised my friends. We'll turn on all the lights, said Mommy, and we'll light all the diyas, and you and your friends will have a lovely party. That sounds just like a mom, doesn't it? I've said that myself, I'm sure. Gita blinked back her tears. Come, said her mother, change into your new dress, and then we'll light the diyas. Gita and her mother set the little clay pots along the windowsills and all around the room. Needles of ice stung the windows. Freezing rain on Diwali? How could such a place ever be our home? Last year, Diwali had been warm and joyful. She and her cousins had startled everyone with noisy firecrackers. They'd whispered in the prayer rooms as the incense smoke curled upwards and the grown-ups chatted. Grandmother had told them stories of Prince Ram and his wife Sita and of their homecoming on Diwali. And in the evening, guess what? fireworks, cones spouting fountains of fire. Catherine reels whirled and hissing rockets burst into dazzling showers of color. A sudden gust rattled the window. Gita stuck out her tongue. You can't get in, you mean old wind, and you won't spoil my party. Mummy, bangles tingling, filled the dais with mustard oil, and as she finished, the phone rang. Gita heard the murmur of her mother's voice, the click of the receiver, and then there was more and more ringing. She shook the box of matches impatiently as her mother came back. Can I light the first one? Mummy smiled and soothed Gita's hair. That was Jenny and Helga. It's too icy to drive. They can't come to the party. Gita ran to her room. She burrowed into the bed and jerked the covers over it. I hate this place, she sobbed. Mummy lifted back the covers and gently hugged Gita. Amy hasn't called yet, and she does live very nearby. Gita pulled away. Gita, said Mommy softly, Diwali is really about filling the darkness with light. Fireworks can't do that for us. We must do that ourselves. Mummy's smile was bright, but also sad, like grandmother's smile when they said goodbye. For a long moment, Gita sat still. Then she managed a watery smile. Let's light the dais. So one by one, golden flames quivered and sprang to life. The warm fragrance of mustard oil filled the room. Just as Gita lit the last wick, the electric lights flickered, on, off, and then all the lights in the apartment, in all the houses, even the street lamps, died. Darkness on Diwali? Gita's throat tightened. And then she began to laugh. In the sudden rush of darkness, their dayas glowed, bright, brighter, brightest, filling the living room with light. We beat the darkness, we beat the darkness, Gita clapped her hands. Lakshmi will come for sure, and we'll have wonderful luck. Gita ran to the window. The daya's reflection made it seem as if there were another shining room outside. She sang softly as drops of freezing rain glittered as they flew past. Slowly, the headlights of the cars came down the street and stopped in front of their building. It's Amy, shouted Gita. Papa started downstairs with a flashlight, and Gita ran ahead in the bouncing circle of light. She opened the front door. Careful, it's icy, called Papa. Gita took a few cautious steps, and then she stopped, and her eyes widened. The whole world glistened. The sidewalks, every branch, every twig, the lampposts, even the blades of grass. In the dark city, only their windows blazed with the steady glow of light. The ice reflecting their light sparkled and danced just like fireworks. Amy's voice brought her back. Gita, tomorrow we can go sledding. It'll be just like flying. Gita's eyes shone. She'd have to write her grandparents about this Diwali in their new home. Hey, let's play hide and seek while the power's still out. And she took one last look at the light singing in the heart of the ice. Come on, she shouted. I'll race you. So even when you think there's darkness, there's always light.
Now is the time in our service when we express that part of our covenant which calls us to share our time, talent, and treasure, support our church and its mission. We shared so much time, talent, and treasures last night at our auction. We also know that part of our mission is to share with the wider community. Each month we deepen into that mission by sharing our collection with the local nonprofit. This month we share our plate with Midwest Soaring Foundation. Please join in our offertory affirmation. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with the people around us, and with the world. We now gratefully receive your contribution. Thank you in advance for your generosity.
Thank you, Jamie. I would like to just pause in gratitude for this place, for all of you, for the opportunity to come together, to share with one another and to share with the world. And to pause. We spend time in each service, most services, in some silent reflection, some time of meditation, so that we can just kind of catch up with ourselves. And so I invite you to take a breath. I'm going to invite you into a guided meditation. And as you do that, just feel your body on the chair, your feet on the floor. Follow the breath. Just notice it. You don't have to do anything special with it. There will be times when we give you the opportunity to just silently or aloud say a chant, the Om. You can do that in your heart or you can do that out loud. First, let yourselves sit quietly and at ease. Allow your body to be relaxed and open, your heart soft. Let go of any plans, any preoccupations. Begin with yourself. Allow your eyes to be closed or keep them in a soft gaze if they're open. Now, begin by taking several long, slow, deep breaths, breathing in fully and exhaling fully. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose or your mouth. And now allow your breath to find its natural rhythm as it flows in and out. With each breath, try to soften and release whatever tension or anxiety that might be gripping you and holding you right now. With each breath. With each breath. I invite you to imagine that you are lighting a Daya lamp. The lamp within. Breathing in and out, I invite you to recite the syllable Om. Om. You can do that silently, or you can do it out loud. The sacred syllable, beginning of all sound. Om. I invite you to imagine again that you are lighting that Daya. Feel its glow. Feel its warmth as you gaze upon the light. Where can you feel it in your body? Keep repeating. Om. Now let your inner light radiate from your being into this sanctuary to enfold those sitting next to you and around you. Continue to hold the image of the lighted lamp with loving kindness and compassion. Hold in the light those among us who are mourning a loss, those whose lives have passed, who still enrich us, for those whom parenting is a spiritual practice, for those struggling with illness, seen or unseen, with mental illness or addictions, those who have suffered abuse or injustice. Chant Om as you inhale and Shanti as you exhale. Om Shanti. Now extend the circle of loving kindness to include your friends, neighbors, and community members. Now think of someone who's difficult to get along with, or someone you dislike, and hold them in the light. Chant Om as you inhale, Shanti, which means peace. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. Finally, extend your loving kindness to people everywhere, all beings, the whole earth. Chanting Om as you inhale, Shanti as you exhale. We are all born from the same light, yours and mine's, beloved. When we gather together, we burn brightly. May this light lead us from untruth to truth, from ignorance to wisdom, from fear to love, from death to life. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And it is in this space that we share our joys and sorrows with one another. If you have a joy or sorrow, I invite you to come forward. You can jot the Bible in silence, or you can speak briefly your whatever it is, your joy or sorrow. And I think this
We'd love to share a joy with all of you. My wife and I, Senvi, who you might know as the accountant for the church, we are 3 months pregnant. We've been trying for many years, so it's a very big deal. So I was asking her, what kind of values do you want to give this boy? And so guess what she said? She said, we want to give the boy UU values. And then I said, I couldn't agree with you more. So she's been through a lot, like miscarriages, IVF, you name it. She's been through everything.
Big ones.
Thank you so much.
That was very touching to follow up with. I just wanted to put a little stone in for our own Debbie Daniel Wayman. She was hoping to be here this morning to do the fair trade table, but unfortunately a couple weeks ago she came down with COVID and she had just about recuperated from that, and she's just got some stomach problems. So, you know, she's really hoping to be with us next Sunday for the fair trade table. So.
Hello, I'm Kathy. I'm placing a stone this morning for my friend William, who has been incarcerated for well over 30 years, and in spite of that, has earned his bachelor's degree. He will be graduating from Northwestern this Wednesday, and we will be going where Ta-Nehisi Coates will be the speaker.
Oh.
I'm going to put in a stone for Megan, that you may find some answers to your health issues.
And for all those who are suffering from the ravages of war and occupation. For those joys and sorrows, those joys, the sorrows that we've heard and shared, and those that we hold in our hearts. Please hold with me a moment of silent reflection. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Holy One, moving in, through, and among us, weaving us together, each to each, in a whole net, reverberating with love and connection. We pause before the next thing to acknowledge the celebrations and the joys of new life and babies murmuring. We hold in our hearts those suffering from uncertainty and questions and loss. And we know through it all, with each breath, with every breath, you are there. You are the breath. And you, each of you, know this. You are always and everywhere held in love and mystery deeper than you can ever know. Our responsive reading is by Rabindranath Tagore. I am the self that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. I am the beginning, the lifespan, and the end of all.
I am the radiant sun among the light givers. I am the mind. I am consciousness in the living.
I am death that snatches all. I am also the source of all that shall be born.
I am time without end. I am the sustainer. My face is everywhere.
I am the beginning, the middle, and the end in creation. I am the knowledge of things spiritual.
I am glory, prosperity, beautiful speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and forgiveness.
I am the divine seed of all lives. In this world, nothing animate or inanimate exists without me.
I am the strength of the strong. I am the purity of the good.
I am the knowledge of the knower. There is no limit to my divine manifestations.
Whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from a fraction of my power and glory.
Thank you, Susan. Let there be lights. Today is Diwali, or Deepavali, a joyous festival of lights. It's one of the most popular and widely celebrated festivals by Hindus, by Jains, by Sikhs, and a festive spirit that's expressed by those all over the world of no religious affiliation, in India, Nepal, and everywhere in the world. I start by telling you that I am not a Hindu. As one who is interspiritual, with reverence and practice in several traditions, the Celtic tradition, the Buddhist tradition, the Christian tradition, I say I am Hindu adjacent. And my practice is Hindu informed. I became passingly familiar with the tradition through the Western spiritual teacher Ram Dass, whose work deeply informed me for decades. But it wasn't until 23 years ago, last month, that I engaged more with the Hindu tradition through the practice of kirtan and singing bhajans, songs and chants to the divine. It was through this practice that I became familiar with the stories and the songs, and especially the stories of the Ramayana, which tells the story of Ram, who is a main focus in Diwali. But what drew me in was the story of Hanuman. But that, my friends, is a story for another time. People have asked me over the years how I approach the gods and goddesses and stories in Hinduism. I would say initially, and still do, that I hold them archetypally as ways to understand the human psyche and consider the divine. But there is also a sense in which I have learned to simply let them be. To let them be, to not overthink, but to experience and to enter in. This is particularly true when I'm singing the divine names. At some point, I just don't need to know. Imagine that. letting go of the need to know. The more I learn, the more I know how much I do not know about this rich and storied tradition. So today I present to you humbly and in deep gratitude to the Reverend Abhijana Manshi, a Hindu UU minister who serves our large congregation in Cedar Lane, Maryland, who today, his stage is speaking of light. It's adorned with lights and dancers, and it's amazing. And I did the best we could. There will be no dancing. I'm sorry. And it was Abhi who said, yes, speak of Diwali. I spent considerable time with him fleshing out the great amount that I do not know, insider looks at stories, some of them surprising me, and who quite generously shared readings and thoughts and much of the text that I share with you today. Who, when pressed to help me decide which garment today, said they're all good. So deep bows to my friend, the Reverend Abhijana Manshi. Back to Diwali. The name derives from the Sanskrit word Deepa, meaning light, and Avali, meaning row or series. I was able to replicate the rows of lights. Oh, by the way, with the dayas, they actually come with a wick that you wind and then bring up. And so did my dayas came with that, but I asked Abhi, is it okay for me to use tea lights? And he said, yes, because you don't want to burn the place down. So thank you, Abhi, for giving me permission to be less than authentic in presenting the dayas. And this, of course, refers to the most prominent part of the festival, displaying the rows of lamps in homes and temples and other buildings in order to symbolize the triumph of good over evil, of hope over despair, of peace over anxiety, of love over fear. Diwali is usually celebrated over a 5-day period, with the most important being the third day, a central day that falls on the full moon in the 8th month of the Hindu calendar, which occurs late October, early or mid-November. And today, November 12th, is the important day. It's the day. How auspicious was that? I was like, yes, I'm going to talk about Diwali. Diwali is typically associated with legends concerning the divine figures, such as Rama, Krishna, defeating the sources of evil, or else with the goddess Lakshmi, who is here. However, it's also celebrated in Jainism. Diwali celebrations tend to focus on the death and the nirvana of Mahavira, whom the Jains revere as the last great spiritual teacher. And there is Mahavira. The Sikhs celebrate Diwali as Bandi Chor Divas, the Day of Liberation, to mark the release of their 6th Guru, Guru Har Gobind, who was unjustly imprisoned for several years. Guru Har Gobind facilitated the release of 52 other Hindu kings who were also incarcerated with him. Diwali has been celebrated in the Indian subcontinent for thousands of years and probably originated as a combination of different festival traditions, harvest festival traditions. Ancient texts such as the Skanda Purana, composed around the 6th century of the Common Era, described the festival and mentioned of the lighting of deepas, earthenware oil lamps, to symbolize the radiance of the sun. The customs and beliefs associated with Diwali vary greatly in different parts of India and within different branches of the Hindu tradition, because the Hindu tradition is so vast. The Hindu tradition is kind of like right what the West called it, because there's so many different layers and branches and expressions of this divine tradition. But they tend to celebrate and share the common emphasis on celebrating the victory of good over evil. Now, as I spoke with my friend Abby about this, we both have a more nuanced view of good and evil, of light and dark. Neither is necessarily vanquished, but it is illuminated. During the course of our conversation, Abby mentioned Alexander Solzhenitsyn's quote, one that is very dear to me too. Solzhenitsyn wrote, "The line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart." This line shifts. Inside us, it oscillates with the years. And even within hearts overwhelmed by evil, one small bridgehead of good is retained. So in the stories that we hear and tell, we recognize that we hold these in tension, right? Even as we learn and grow from these stories. Again, in northern India, Diwali is the day believed when Lord Rama returned to Ayodhya after defeating the demon king Ravana. In southern India, it's celebrated as the day when the Lord Krishna and his spouse defeated the demon Naraka and freed thousands of people from captivity. Again, we've heard about Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity. It starts the new year, and many prayers are offered to Lakshmi for a prosperous year. But this is the thing, too. Lakshmi is also the embodiment of courage and of life. And she reminds us of the power of the divine feminine. Diwali is a time to remember and invoke the presence of our ancestors who are no longer with us. You heard from the story about the lamps being lit in homes and fireworks. Oh my goodness. I had a picture that I should have given you. It's of the India on the day of Diwali, the night of Diwali, and it's all lit up. There's no dark. It's amazing. And this is to, welcome and guide the spirits of loved ones on this day. And you see the similarities between this and Samhain, the Celtic festival, which we celebrated a couple of weeks ago, and the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, and All Saints and All Souls Day. We remember ancestors. That's what humans do. Diwali marks the beginning of that new year for businesses and the last harvest before winter, just like Samhain. Symbolically, it is a new start in all aspects of life, including relationships with family and friends. It's a time to reflect on and assess our thoughts and deeds over the past year, a time to acknowledge where we've fallen short, a time to rediscover and recommit to becoming more loving, more kind, more forgiving toward ourselves and others. And it's a time to let our inner light shine into the world. The spiritual meaning of Diwali, Abhi told me, is the awareness and the celebration of that inner light. Although it's not seen externally, this inner light removes all obstacles and dispels all ignorance. It awakens the individual to one's true nature, not as the body, but as the unchanging, infinite, and transcendent reality, the self that we heard Tagore speak about in our reading. With this inner realization comes the universal compassion, courageous love, and awareness of the oneness of all things, Sat, truth, Chit, consciousness, Ananda, joy. Sat, Chit, Ananda. For Hindus, this is the goal of life. So on the night of Diwali, with the lamps lit in homes and public places, they line all sorts of places, steps and doorways and terraces. And children are free to play and arrange these lights. I loved this picture. And you can imagine Gita in our story saying, oh, why can't I have fireworks and all the lights? And you see how they're arranged. In every home, one is required to place a light at the threshold of the house, the space where the outside meets the inside, to symbolize as the space where the inner self meets the outer self, or the world. And truly, when I deepen into the tradition, the Hindu tradition and the stories, it's really, for me, about not only my psyche, although it is that, but also how I can relate inner and outer, and to look symbolically and to use this rich tradition to enlighten my own way and to shine that light even on my own inner darkness. The simplicity of a tiny light shining from the threshold, as we heard in the story, it was so powerful to symbolize the meaning and the call of Diwali, the divine spark that resides within each of us, that drives away ignorance, fear, hatred, violence, instills knowledge, courage, love, and peace in our hearts. Who doesn't want that? Who would not like for us to drive away our own ignorance, our own fear, our own hatred, and our own violence, and to be instilled with knowledge and courage and love and peace? What do you think happens when we do that? When we do that for ourselves, what happens to the world? In the Hindu tradition, the home is a metaphor for the body. Within the home shines the light that is the divine, the Atman. It is the light that enables us to see and hear and touch and smell. It's the radiance that allows our mind to think, create, and imagine, our heart to feel that compassion and to express that love, and our hands to serve. So imagine maybe some of you have a tradition in your own home of lighting a chalice or lighting a candle. You may have a home altar. And maybe we could think about, how lighting a candle is so powerful in all traditions, and how when we do that light and that spark connects us. The light is present in everyone, enlivening all bodies and minds. And that is the purpose, is to embody that in all of our deeds and our actions. One of the great temptations of this religious wisdom and awakening is its privatization. To savor the peace within, some believe they must choose the door of our home and turn away from the world. From that perspective, authentic religion is inward turning, marked by indifference to the world and its concerns. People regard God and the world, the inner, the outer, the home, and public spaces as mutually exclusive. It's assumed that for one to grow close, one is to grow further from the other, to go in. To turn to the world is to turn away from God in some of this thought. To look within, we have to cease looking outward. Religious privatization is often associated with the negativity of the world, right? The world representing evil and liberation equated with escaping the world. This is what is called spiritual bypassing. And it's tempting to shut ourselves away from the world and the suffering and the pain when we encounter the world and just go to find inner peace. But the light at the threshold at Diwali reminds us that our awakening of our inner light is incomplete if it does not radiate within us to dispel the shadows of the outside world. A knowledge of the divine light, does that not shine outward in service of life? And service of a life that's larger than our own is anemic, self-serving, and deficient. If the light at the threshold moments reminds us that the inner light must radiate outwards, it also reminds us that we need to awaken that light. Light in the Hindu tradition is a symbol for knowledge. If we are lost in the shadows, we will continue to contribute to the world's suffering and not help in overcoming it. It's easy, though, to speak about knowledge, dispelling ignorance, to represent ignorance as something abstract, some distant or ethereal phenomenon, disconnected from the concrete realities of life. The light on the threshold, though, reminds us of something different. It reminds us that the shadows that are to be dispelled are real. It is here, it is now, and it is present in our own communities. It takes us form in all the social, cultural, political, religious structures that devalue human beings and all beings, and that are the sources of oppression and suffering. We live in the shadows when we ignore, condone, or practice racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, ableism, classism, militarism, or recklessly exploit nature. All those isms. These are the demons. These are the negative forces against which the light on the threshold must shine so brightly in order to overcome and transform our hearts into a temple. What might it be and mean for our hearts to be a temple? What might it mean to make our hearts a temple in the midst of war that seems to be asking us to take sides? How will we use our light? Perhaps it means to live our lives in a way that expresses our devotion, not just in religious ritual, which I love, but in every word that we speak, in every action that we perform, every intention that we put out. God, we are told, the divine, the holy, love manifests in the world as truth and love. The Hindu way of life is based on the pluralistic acceptance of spirituality as embodied in the often used phrase in the Rig Veda, truth is one, the wise ones call it by different names. We experienced this last month when we celebrated the 130th anniversary of Hindu philosopher and religious leader Swami Vivekananda's talks at our church. And closer to home, the idea is exemplified in the motto, E pluribus unum, many out of the one. To paraphrase the late Reverend Forrest Church, a UU minister, our Unitarian heritage points to the existence of one reality, one truth, one light, which shines through countless windows, each of which reveals a portion of that light. One light through many windows. This reflects our universalism. So this is the challenge. How may Diwali provide illumination for us in these turbulent times when we yearn for truth and kindness and wisdom? In times of war and climate disruption and all the other things that we know are on our hearts, that are happening in our world in this very moment, how might we overcome ignorance and fear, bigotry and hatred of the other? How can we make everything we put out into the world an offering of devotion, an invitation for love, divinity to reside in our hearts? And can we take that time to be still and quiet, present enough to see and hear the divinity within? In the midst of all the beautiful lights of Diwali, let us meditate on the light at the threshold, the place where light meets shadow, inner meets outer, our spirituality meets the world, the place where the light of God, the light of love, radiating from our hearts engages the world with loving compassion and a commitment to justice. May this Diwali serve as a symbol of hope and resilience. This Diwali, may we remember that our doors must be open to allow the light of our homes to enter the world. May we commit to our journey in unity while affirming our diversity. May we commit to be a circle of life manifesting solidarity that will protect, savor, serve, and save life. May we shine forth with the divine spirit that is within us all and all around us. For this broken, beautiful world of ours needs all the light that we have to bring. Go shining. Amen. I love you. And Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words. There's the fireworks. Y'all look, there's, seriously. I couldn't extinguish the chalice without showing us the fireworks. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts, and we share with all the world. And so, when we thought about closing the service, there was really, I think, only one way to close it. Can you guess what that might be? Of course, even though we did that last week, please rise and bow to your spirit. Peace, be makers of peace. Shanti, shanti, shanti.